Was Hurricane Katrina a well-planned form of gentrification? Hear me out with this one. I went to New Orleans last year for Mardi Gras. I did the haunted ghost tour and learned a lot about the history of the city. But there was one interesting fact that still stands out to me to this day. When Hurricane Katrina hit, 80% of New Orleans was flooded. Some parts were 15 feet underwater. The French Quarter and the Garden District escaped flooding because those areas were above sea level. We're told the reason of the flooding was because of the breaches in the levee system and the flood walls. But part of me always believed there was more to that story. So I did a little digging. I came across a lot of interesting articles and an interesting documentary by Spike Lee. Highly suggest you all watch When the Levees Broke. They pretty much mentioned how levees were blown up intentionally to flood out predominantly black communities. There were many residents who stayed behind who couldn't afford to leave New Orleans. Many of them report hearing explosions in the lower Ninth Ward before the floodwaters came rushing in. They claimed the levees were intentionally blown up.
The helicopters come over the levee, and I think they were dropping package charges and dropping them on the levee and let them blow up there.
Sounds far-fetched, right? But this isn't the first time in history that the government flooded a town for their benefit. You have the town of Oscarville, Georgia that sits under Lake Lanier, in the Great Mississippi River Flood of 1927, where they intentionally blew up the levee systems to save New Orleans. They intentionally destroyed the levee system in Carnarvon in order to flood the less populated Acadian region of St. Bernard. This flood disproportionately impacted African Americans. More than 200,000 were displaced from their homes. As a result, many never returned and joined a great migration to northern and midwestern cities. Now let's digress and get back to Hurricane Katrina. After the flooding, there were a lot of African Americans who stayed behind who were lynched and hunted down by white vigilante militias. Not only were the rescue efforts delayed, but the National Guard was instructed to shoot the hoodlums. A lot of us remember Kanye West saying George Bush doesn't like black people, but we forget what he said prior to that.
Could help are at war right now, fighting another way, and they've given them permission to go down and shoot us.
It's also ironic how Katrina derives from the ancient Greek name Ekatharini, which in turn derives from katheros, meaning clean, clear, pure. Katrina was purification.